We just finished playing the newest Stonemaier game, Apiary, and it is sweet. You can believe me. Stick around. We'll give you our thoughts on the game on Legendary Tactics.
All right, tip of the cap, Flash. Well done there.
Thanks, buddy. Do it again. Okay,
so let's talk Apiary here.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's only fair to give first our positives, and then if we have any criticisms, we'll do those.
Yeah.
And we'll try to do this all in a very concise way so you can get a sense of whether this game is a good one for you.
But now, that said, we've only played one game of it. We just wanted to give you our first thoughts after a playthrough.
And we did get this as a review copy from Stonemaier as well, so we thought we'd throw that in as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so Nato, why don't you start out? Coming to this, Cax and I usually really enjoy Stonemaier games. We love Wingspan. Nato is usually a little more hesitant on these, so I think it's a good starting point to see what your thoughts were.
I think it's a really fun game, actually. Like, I enjoyed it. I'm still not sure if we were totally playing it right. I think we were, but I think maybe we weren't incorporating some of the strategies that once you kind of dive into this a little bit more. But no, I think that I like the aesthetic. It's got the little wooden bits that Stonemaier is kind of famous for. Giant queen
Mother
bee.
Queen.
Yeah, and
clovers and waters.
the bees themselves. Components-wise, of course, Stonemaier is always great.
Yep, vellum paper.
Yeah, it's all that good stuff. So no, I mean, I would definitely play it again. I'll say that much. What about you, Cax?
I really liked it. The one mechanic in particular that I thought was pretty clever was how these bees, they're numbered 1 to 4, and as they kind of go through and progress through what you want them to do, they actually increase in basically their skill levels go up, and their experience kind of grows.
They have more access to better functions on the board.
That's right.
As they hit,
you're kind of leveling towards a level 4, which actually really opens up a lot more opportunities at each choice. But
however, once that level 4 ages out, then goes into hibernation and resets essentially.
And you essentially lose that worker unless you can get more workers into your pool.
Yeah.
I really did like that mechanic though. I thought that really added something to the game. There's like a bit of a bumping mechanic that kind of works itself into the game too, which was really, really sharp, I thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Flash?
Okay. Yes, I really enjoyed the game. Again, only one playthrough, but I judge books by their covers.
Yes, you do.
I judge them quickly.
And he judges fast. 10 minutes and he's like, I like it.
My initial judgment is very positive on this. There's a lot going on, lots of moving parts. If you look around the board, your main functions are to explore, advance, convert, carve, grow, research, and then toward the end of the game, you're hibernating more. And I felt there was a ton of choice. I think what I like most about the game, and I know sometimes you don't like this, the point salad idea, right? But what I really like is when there's multiple paths to victory. And if you can see our player mats here, I had a fairly balanced approach, not very agrarian. Each of these different colored tiles give you different benefits. So if you're going for these red tiles, then it's an immediate bonus. If you're going for the blue ones, it's a passive ongoing bonus, and if you're going for the green ones, then that's one where you can farm and it adds more storage.
Yeah.
So that's a more kind of long-term strategy, I would say, and you keep your bees young and you send them out and farm that way. You can see Cax here went all in on the development cards.
The development cards.
Yep. Nate got all kinds of frames to build his colony out and then didn't fill them.
Yeah, well, I got them very late, so.
But we had very different approaches. We were using different parts of the board. I think we really underutilized the research. We didn't really get a lot of carving done. This is a more end game kind of function. And
the dancing part, I'd say Flash and I got built quick, and then they just wallowed cut it the rest of the game. Like no one did it.
Yeah.
This is essentially you create a formula to entice other players to use your formula to convert resources so that I get a benefit when you use it, and of course you avoided it. So maybe you didn't like that formula. So overall, I love the strategy game. I want to play it again.
And from what I've seen, the replayability will be completely.
Well, check this out. So there's all kinds of other player factions you can use. Each board is set up differently.
Different ships,
so
different player factions.
Yeah, when you place a tile, you get the benefit. There's different bonuses. There's different combinations of starting tiles that go on here that increase the variability of the game. So I think there's going to be a lot to this game as you learn all of these cards. At first, it's a little overwhelming.
It is a little bit overwhelming to begin with, but once you're playing, it comes together
Absolutely.
I think, yeah.
So let's transition into critiques. We'll go with our harshest critic first.
Oh,
Nato.
my harshest critic.
Yes.
I think just I think it's a little bit of a tough initial learn.
You don't know why you're doing things.
Yeah,
that much.
you're trying to figure out how everything interconnects. It's not a bad thing, but I think it may be, if you're not a bit of a seasoned gamer already, it's definitely not introductory. Like,
Yes.
I wouldn't want to bring this out to someone who's used to playing Monopoly and Risk and whatever, and like, hey, I've got this new game, Apiary. It would definitely. I think if you're an experienced gamer, though, I think it's fine to learn. But I would say it's not a starter game by any stretch. It's not a criticism exactly,
Yep.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to understand the mechanics of how these work and to remember when they trigger and what order you want to cycle your units in.
Yeah. What about yourself, Kat?
So I have a major and a minor. So I think the little more major would be that it's a bit, we talked about point salad earlier. There's a lot of point salads, and I think in this particular game, maybe a little bit too much lettuce for me.
Right.
So I just found there were just too much points all over the place, and it was almost just kind of clogged it down a little bit for me. I would still want to play it again, and maybe I just need to get a little bit better at it and figure out a little more focused strategy. But that's the one area that I just thought, and that was my comment immediately after, just too much of that. So the minor detail is, we talked about components, and Stonemaier always does great components. However, the one little detail
You took mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
was the two. It was the honey pot and the
Wax.
The wax.
Yeah.
And I just, you know what? I wish they made. I mean, there's
They're
slightly
both
different
round.
shades.
They're both gold.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
And in this pot, it's like, okay, now find which one's which, and so you just kind of have to dig a little. It could have been easily fixed with a
Make
total
it
different
just a
color,
bright yellow
or
something,
just a shape that's just totally different than the other. Just to differentiate a little more. But
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, the thing
Flash,
with
I'm
point
sorry.
salad, I think,
Yeah,
what
that's
it boils down to is, it feels like each action scores you points, so it's hard to pick a direction because it all works.
Everything works.
And so it's
it's a bit too vague.
yeah, and so you're not picking any strategy because they all kind of work, and and that may be, that's always the risk with a point salad type game.
It's a win by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. What about you, Flash?
right.
What was your?
My major criticism, and I think this applies to a lot of Stonemaier games. At once I like it, but I also find in this game it didn't work for me. I don't like multiplayer solo games, only in the sense that I come here to play games with you guys, and I found the whole game, all I saw, I had my tunnel vision on, I saw my board, I saw that board. Partly this is because it's a new game, and I'm just focusing on what I'm doing, and I'm sure when you get better, yell at me in the comments, tell me how wrong I am. You need to probably pay attention to what other people are doing and look at when you're bumping and how you're advantaging other players, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But for me, and I think that's part of the intentional design of Stonemaier Games, so likely they would say that's exactly what we want. Is we don't want competition where you're bashing each other on the heads and knocking each other's boards and all that. We want you to just be working on your engine, trying to get the most points possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
I would love to see this game
Beat the mechanic, right?
Yes.
Beat that mechanic.
Beat the mechanic.
Yeah.
So it becomes an action efficiency game, which I prefer with you guys. I want a slightly more competitive game where I steal one of your hives, or
I turn your bee down one level, right?
Yeah, I kill one of your bees. I turn it down. So I'm sure there'll be an expansion down the road that will correct that. That would be my major criticism of the game. But overall, I really enjoyed the game.
With all the replayability, does it need an expansion? That's the question. I mean, I'm sure if it does well, it will get an expansion. But man, there's already a lot here.
One last thing I want to talk about. When I initially pitched this to Nate, he was skeptical because he's like, bees in space. Okay, so gentlemen, now that we've landed on the space theme, space bees, do you think the theme works in this environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Quite honestly, I didn't even really, the space part of it didn't really even enter into my thought patterns.
Yeah.
And now that I'm looking at it, I see the theme is there.
Gotcha.
But it was, I was fairly focused on, again, that was the tunnel vision you were talking about.
Right.
I was tunnel vision on how am I going to build build my board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And not as much
Build
of
your
that.
hive.
So, build my hive, yeah.
Yes.
So it didn't,
Your space hive.
My space
Yeah.
hive. How about you?
Fantastic. Yeah, you know what? I actually love the space theme, and I love how Stonemaier does these sort of
Yeah.
animalistic, nature-based. So to me, it's a natural comparison. And I mean, like the underworld of bees is like another world to me. So
Yes.
I think the metaphor is apt.
Yeah, I thought it worked in a surprising way. It worked.
Yeah,
the theme
surprisingly
actually was fun.
So overall, thumbs up for
Yeah,
Thumbs
I'd
Up.
absolutely
Yeah.
play it again.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's got the
certainly will.
LT stamp of approval.
Yes.
We'll have to play it some more to make sure that holds up. But
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
it's wonderful. Let us know what you think about this game in the comments. And in the meantime, get out there.
Get gaming.
And be legendary.